Alright, that's enough of that. Hopefully everything is okay in terms of audio, quality, etc. You know how it is around here. I like to play fast and loose. Keeps me on my toes. Let me say hello to some people. Sorry for doing the mouth noises into the microphone. Some people like that ASMR kind of a thing, but other people will be put off by that. Cousin Justin, the man, the myth, the blue wrench himself. Cousin Justin is here. How you doing, Mr. Justin? Blood of my blood. And Tradition is here, and I'm actually very glad Tradition is here, because what we're doing is watching the Unity presentation from Game Developer Conference, which happened like a week or two ago. I can't keep track of time, but they recently put the full thing on YouTube. You've probably already seen it, maybe, because it's not a new thing. This has been out for a few days now. But I'm sure this is going to be somewhat technical. Like, I mean, we know the details from it already. I just never seen it myself, and I thought it might be an interesting thing to just watch. Maybe we'll pick up something new, or maybe I will pick up something new and better understand what they're talking about when I'm actually seeing the presentation, rather than reading some article about it, if you know what I mean. And people like Tradition are very good with the technical stuff. PPO, if he shows up, he seems to be pretty decent with the technical stuff too. There's a few of you. Listen, more heads are better than one. You know, the snake with many heads, etc. Fozzie Bear is here, and he's brought his foreskin. Enough for everyone, I hope, because we do have some circumcised Americans in the chat, I believe. Tradition, the one wrench from which all others were forged. A bit of a Lord of the Wrenches thing going on there. That could be an idea for Mr. Jackpot to make another Dreams movie featuring people from this chat. And okay, there he is. I'll get to him when I get to him. The first wrench, I am true. The first wrench, I am true story. Sorry, I read that wrong. HP Puppet. HB Puppet. HP is a brand of... Wait, are you HP? HB. There's a brand of ice cream over here, and I can't figure out now if it's called HB or HP. But anyway, how you doing? Welcome back, Mr. Puppet. Daniel Drees with his panties around his knees and his ass in debris. Doing that grind with the push and squeeze. And this is the man I wanted to talk about, Mr. Geisen himself. He has once again managed to paste that link to this stream into Discord before I was able to. I made a tweet, and then immediately after that I went to Discord. He already had it done. I think Geisen deserves a round of applause, not for what he's doing in this channel only, because anytime I go to any PSVR channel, PSVR without parole, whatever, etc., he's always there. Gamertag, he's always there. He's always boosting, like helping out the creators and whatnot, and promoting their shit, and he's like an unsung hero, I think. So everyone, round of applause for Mr. Geisen. Alright, I'd clap louder if my children weren't asleep. You deserve a loud one. Fozzie Bear, the thickest of all wrenches. Because I should stop reading your greetings to each other. I should read these before I pop them up. So apologies for that. Classic people, what is this account? I thought I was about to beat Geisen on posting the vid to Discord. Well, there you go. People's another one. He's climbing the ranks in the world of PSVR YouTube scene. Decepticon is here, and I'm not playing his music today because I thought it might be a bit distracting if we're trying to listen to whatever this presentation is going to be. Maybe we need some silence, So I had to turn it off, but it was nice to open up this Streamlabs. Streamlabs? No, what is this? Stream Elements software I'm using, and then immediately hit with that Decepticon tunage because I was playing it last time. So that was nice. Why am I feel like my lung capacity, either it's because I'm getting more obese, which I am, or since I got COVID, my lungs are just like not able to take in as much air, and just talking is like... So maybe it's a combination, No, I'm not playing Elden Ring because... Why am I not playing Elden Ring? I just feel like... I probably will get it at some point, but not right now, because I was playing Horizon, and that was like €80 to buy that, and I probably shouldn't be spending fat stacks like that. I have to be a lot more frugal with what games I'm getting these days. Tradition giving Geisen the round of applause he deserves. And you better be. You all better be, says Decepticon. Have you beaten it yet? How many hours you put into it? Fozzie Bear says, my favorite thing about the Irish is that they didn't invent vodka. I don't understand what that means, but I assume it's some kind of racist remark. Cousin Justin showing us that people from around the world are applauding Geisen's efforts. Classic PPO. People. Always saying it wrong. Elden Ring apparently... You gotta stop changing your accounts though. That's something I will criticize you, people. You got like 16 different accounts. They all have people in them. But you're just like classic. There's the Hideo Kojima one, then there's the other one. There's a pumpkin one. That's the only one you need. The pumpkin one, you know? Anyway. Elden Ring apparently brings a lot of new stuff to open worlds. But no one says why. That's something I've noticed myself, people, is that I don't think it does bring anything new. I think it's just that it's presented in a new way. Whereas you're not told what to do. There's no arrows and stuff like that. Even though a lot of other games you can turn that shit off. But this way it's designed that way, if you know what I mean. So I feel like it's kind of a bit like Breath of the Wild in that way, where everyone's like, wow, Breath of the Wild is like, you've never seen an open world like this. But then I'm like, why is that? And they're like, you can go anywhere. But I was like, I could do that in GTA 4. Could do that in, you know, GTA 3. It's just, I feel like it's just that you could climb all the surfaces in that game. And I was like, well, I could do that in Spider-Man, you know? And there was no meter for that. Decepticon says, no, 120 hours so far. Still 2 areas to go. Jesus. 120 hours. That's a lot of firewall matches you could have played, Decepticon. But at least you're not playing the quest, so that's why I will applaud Elden Ring for keeping people away from that dirty quest. They invented potatoes. We didn't actually invent potatoes. Did you know that? Potatoes were imported from South America over to Ireland. So there you go. Vodka is made from potatoes. Yes, it is. Well, my favorite thing about the Irish is that they didn't invent vodka. Oh, I see. Because obviously who else would invent something with... But I think we did invent crisps though, or chips, whatever you say. Is that true? Questicles, I didn't want to bring up some slurs, but you did. You said it. You know? Okay, should we start watching this? What do you think? Will we just talk? Do you want to just talk for a while? Just hang out? How's everyone doing? You know? Let's talk about boys. Any cute boys you're talking to? What's going on in the world, you know? Ukraine. Anyway. Enough of that nonsense. I'm not going to full screen this, as you should all know by now that that will not end well for the quality of the stream. So it's going to be in this theater mode. Hopefully I'm not blocking anything important. But if I am, tell me and I will move the camera and I'll make myself small. Also, let me know how the audio is from the YouTube video itself. Like it's not too loud or too quiet. My voice is too loud, etc., etc. You know, I appreciate those kind of things because it's very difficult for me to figure these things out because I have learning difficulties, I think. Undiagnosed learning difficulties. Anyway, I'm going to hit play. It's happening. Building the next gen. Where do I put my mouse?
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hello.
If you could take the time or the moment to silence your devices and or put them away, it would be much appreciated.
It's already on silent. I never put my phone off silent these days.
Okay, so welcome to building next-gen games for PlayStation VR 2.
Thank you.
I'm Bria, Senior Product Manager for XR here at Unity. And
Cool.
with me, I have Fabian Holman,
Bria.
Senior Graphics Developer for VR, Dave Riddell, Engineering
Good old
Manager
Dave.
of XR Input and Interactions, and Jono Forbes, XR Workflows Tech Lead, who will also cover XR design considerations.
How's the volume, lads? Talk to me.
To start off, I would like to say that Unity Engine will support development for PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah.
We've been listening to your feedback on our PSVR development tools and have made improvements to Unity's underlying...
Okay, I'm a little bit paranoid. I just want to make sure it's all working. So tell me how that was. You all heard that? Up the volume a little bit, and Geisen says volume is good. So let me check what the volume is on the actual... here? Yeah, yeah, I've got it down pretty low, so I might up that to maybe halfway. And you can let me know how that is. I'm going to hit play.
Development infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
A massive shift will be PSVR 2 support of dedicated VR controllers. With this,
Ooh, she's
and
doing
the
the mouth
inclusion of
things
the
that I
Unity
do.
XR SDK, development will have foundational consistency across your VR creations, irrespective of the intended delivery platform. PSVR 2
Bright.
is PlayStation's next-generation
It's
VR
white.
system. PSVR 2 takes VR gaming to a whole new level, enabling a greater sense of presence and allowing players to immerse themselves into game worlds like never before. Players will feel a heightened range of sensations unlike any other, thanks to the creativity of the game worlds being built by you, our creators,
Thanks, Fozzie.
and the latest technology incorporated
And
into the
people.
hardware. PlayStation VR 2 features include high-fidelity visual experiences.
I'm sorry, but this must be how it is for ye. All I'm hearing is her mouth noises, not her words. All I'm hearing is that tongue. That tongue is just splashing around in there. You know, I'm sorry. Let's keep going.
Offered by 4K HDR, 110-degree field of view, and
Goddamn.
foveated rendering. Together with an OLED display, players
yeah.
can expect a display resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye and smooth
4K.
frame rates of 90 or 120 hertz.
ASMR slaps.
Headset-based controller tracking that tracks you and your controller through integrated cameras embedded in the VR headset. Your movements and the direction you look are reflected in-game without the need for an external camera. PSVR 2 Sense technology combines eye tracking, headset feedback, 3D audio, and PSVR 2 Sense controllers to create a deep feeling of immersion.
Deep.
Headset feedback amplifies the sensations of in-game actions from the player. It's created by a single built-in motor with vibrations that add a tactile element, bringing players closer to the gameplay experience.
So she's talking about the motor on the headset, but they never actually say that it's like haptic. You know, the same way it is in the DualSense. I wonder if it's just more of a less defined kind of haptic feedback. Maybe it's just like standard rumble, you know. I don't know. Maybe they'll talk about it.
Experiences can be built to enable gamers to feel a character's elevated pulse during tense moments, the rush of objects passing close to the character's head, or the thrust of a vehicle as the character speeds forward. With eye tracking, PSVR 2 detects the motion of your eyes, so a simple look in a specific direction can create an additional input for the game character.
God damn, that mouth
This
is
allows
loud.
players to interact more intuitively in new and lifelike ways, allowing for a heightened emotional response and enhanced expression that provide a new level of realism. All of these advances in PlayStation VR 2, combined with the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers from PSVR 2 Sense controllers, enable players to feel and interact with experiences in a more visceral way. And now I'll hand this off to Fabian to cover Unity graphics.
Fabian, how's your mouth sounding? Get the microphone out of your mouth. Oh, I'm already hearing his tongue. It's already gone. Oh, someone was supposed to be
Hello.
pressing
Yeah,
those,
so
but they
for you to
didn't.
click, you can see the full list of the feature there. I'll leave this.
Oh my god. Hold on a sec. Can we get someone to translate whatever this fella's about to say? He's about to start speaking French at me. I'm laughing at her mouth noise, says Fozzie. I'm afraid I am too. I can't help it. But I'm about to start laughing at this fella's mouth noises as well. Oh, I skipped one. Mr. Underground himself. He's crawled out from the underground. AJ, aka Adrian Jeremiah, who's a good pumpkin. You're a good pumpkin. Yes, you are. Damn. That kind of talk I thought was saved for the OnlyFans account, but he's bringing us out in public now for free, and I appreciate that, Mr. Underground. Thank you very much. I just realized you're like a modern day Christian Slater from Pump Up the Volume. Now, I'm going to have to like bookmark that comment, and after the stream I'm going to do some Googling. Christian Slater is a person I think I know. He's the actor, isn't he? He was in Mr. Robot. Or am I thinking of somebody else? Christian Slater. Anyway. Nailed it. Is this not your OnlyFans? Oh shit, there you see, you're exposed. You're exposed. Gleaming the cube, says Decepticon. Don't know what that means either. The references are getting a bit out there now for me. I thought there was a severe lack of nudity. We'll aim to fix that. Let's continue and listen to Fabian. What are you going to say, Fabian?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm delighted to present you how we integrated the graphics technology of PlayStation VR 2 into Unity. I will show you what you can expect from Unity while developing for PlayStation VR 2 and how you can rely on your
Such
existing knowledge
a silly
to get
language,
to
isn't
get
it?
up and running very quickly in a familiar environment. But first, a few words about
Subtitles
the
are good.
real-time rendering solution available in Unity. While the standard built-in render pipeline will be supported on PlayStation VR 2, I want to highlight some key features of the scriptable render pipeline ecosystem.
Jesus.
The universal render pipeline is a great match for VR games. It is very flexible, easy to use,
Flexible
and
pipe.
customizable.
That's
It is
good.
designed for fast iterations while incorporating a lot of default features. You can choose between forward and deferred rendering depending on your requirements. It comes with a suite of effects, including bloom, screen space, ambient occlusion, decals, many anti-aliasing techniques, etc. It's
This
worth
is hard.
noting that Unity is working hard to make URP.
I don't know if I should be... See, I can't really listen to him. I'm trying to look at the comments as well. But I feel like if I'm not reading the subtitles, I'm not going to understand what this fella's saying. And even if I'm reading this, I'm probably not going to understand anyway because he's talking technical. As for the Christian Slater movie, obviously it's Alone in the Dark. That's what you meant to say with Tara Reid. Is that her name? True Romance is a better Christian Slater movie. Don't know that one. I'm slacking on the Christian Slater movies, I think. Talk Hard, is that a movie? Broken Arrow. See, I've this fella's movies haven't been promoted very well in Ireland, I don't think. I heard you're a P. I don't understand what he's saying. True Romance wins. I'm thinking of True Lies. That was an excellent movie, but he's not in that. Whiskey causes me to have a flexible pipe, says Jeremiah. How you doing, Jeremiah? Welcome back. On that bombshell, we'll continue.
The default rendering pipeline.
The
and tons
default
of effort
rendering
are being
pipeline.
put into it. The high-definition render pipelines relies on physically based lighting techniques and is packed with more advanced rendering features like volumetrics, area light, screen space reflection, and squeeze space global illumination. Just to name a
Squeeze
few.
planes.
To unlock the full potential of HDRP, you need a bigger team and talented technical artists, as it's a step up in complexity. For VR games, you also need to handpick the feature you need because of the performance requirement. If these two pipelines do not fulfill all your requirements,
There should be someone
you can make your own custom render pipeline.
talking over him
Unity provides an extensive
in an
C#
understandable
API to allow
accent,
you to implement
like
the
mine.
renderer your games require.
you know, the or.
All these solutions come with many debugging facilities, as well as the ability to hot-reload your shader change
Debugging
and your C#
facilities.
scripts for maximum productivity in editor.
Hold on a sec.
Let's have a deeper look into specific features supported by Unity for PlayStation VR 2. If you're familiar with VR development, you know how important performance is and how single-pass techniques can dramatically reduce CPU usage by computing some information for both eyes at the same time. For example, full-stream culling and command buffer generation can be done
About to
only
hit you with a
once
pole.
instead of twice.
Suck on that.
Unity gives you the ability to choose what will be displayed on the TV,
There you go.
mostly for spectators watching the main player interact in VR. You can even present a different view from an alternative camera and offer some asymmetric
Luke
gameplay
de Guru, I
experience,
remember this.
or a
Is he
unique
talking about
user
them werewolves
interface
again?
for local spectators.
Got VR legs. How's it going,
Another
got VR
traditional
legs?
optimization when doing VR rendering
Eye
is to
tracking,
start the
stare
frame
down.
by drawing an occlusion mesh to fill part of the depth buffer
Did I get
in
Muzz's
order
comment?
to avoid drawing
Yes, I did.
what is not
Muzz,
visible
welcome.
from the headset.
thinking this guy might be French. He's probably French-Canadian.
Unity provides default settings for the resolution of the
Can you tell the
connected
difference?
domains, but you're always free to take control and change the display resolution to meet your performance needs.
Honestly, I can't.
PlayStation VR 2 can run at different
Here we
frame
go.
rates. This is a versatile option so that you can offer the best experience to your players based on the content of your game.
We do
You can
man.
also render at 60 frames per second and reproject the frames at
Interesting.
120 Hz to get the best of both worlds. You can decide to make a game where VR is optional or where VR mode can be toggled on and off. As a developer, you have total control over the flow of your game.
Alone in the Dark is winning, lads. I think I was right about it.
In order to fully take advantage of the hardware improvements offered by PlayStation 5 and the high performance demands of VR titles, we have been working on a new graphics code for PlayStation 5. The next generation graphics context power our PlayStation VR 2 support and will be available for standard PS5 titles as well.
I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to end the poll before someone tries to change us.
We have been able to re-architect our rendering by...
Now, I got to pause this. He's overwhelming me with all the noises he's making, which I'm told are supposed to be words. Decepticon saying old Alone in the Dark game was the shit. I think I played a demo for one on PS2, maybe PS1, and I wasn't impressed. It was kind of like Resident Evil style, but shit. But yeah, I heard the original is, you know, a classic. This guy sounds like a French Petrifying Pumpkins. This is PSVR Underground. See, the ladies love this kind of an accent, though. Best Christian Slater movie is True Romance. Everyone knows this. I don't know what that movie even is. Oh, Interview with the Vampire. He was the interviewer in that movie, wasn't he? Or was that the other fella who reminds me of Christian Slater? I don't know. Pump up the volume, talk kids to microwave silverware. And to talk hard, says Germ. I don't know what to expect with it. Germ, did I say hello to you? I can't remember if I did or not. If I didn't say it, I'm going to say it now, alright? Hello, Germ. Hope you're well. That's a good one. Interview with the Vampire. That should be up there. This guy's talking, but all I hear is French noises, man. This channel's going to get cancelled for being bigots against the French people. But I don't care.
To allow the efficient utilization across multiple cores while improving
God, I hope the next
GPU
guy
state
is
condition.
American or
We've
something.
taken advantage of GPU
English,
optimization
even
technology
English.
available in PS5
I'll take us.
in ways we weren't previously able to. And
It is
we know
interesting that they're
means
even
of
doing this,
reducing the
you know.
memory footprints of shader variants being
Presentation
loaded on PS5.
From Unity, dedicated to PSVR 2. It's just kind of strange,
in
you
terms
know.
of CPU, GPU, and memory usage.
They must be expecting people to be excited about what's coming. And they want to be on the ground floor.
The graphics code is also required in order to unlock PlayStation VR 2 support and features like Foveated rendering, which we'll discuss later.
Okay.
Now, on PlayStation 5, it's easier to bring your creation to life, thanks to the more powerful next-gen hardware. Developers should be targeting a 4K resolution equivalent at 90 or 120 Hz.
Yards? Do you mean hertz? I think he said hertz, but it came out as yards.
Of the spaceship demo running at native 4K resolution on PlayStation 5. With the new Unity graphics code for PlayStation 5, our dev team was able to improve performance quite significantly. The GPU usage is now 14% faster, and the CPU main thread usage...
Okay, so I think I didn't understand this the first time I saw this screenshot. But this is just the PS5. This has nothing to do with PSVR. Obviously, it does have something to do with PSVR, but in terms of these numbers, this is just talking about PS5 console without PSVR 2 headset, which I think I went over my head the first time.
Has improved by 32%. Also, it reduced memory usage by 30 megabytes.
Rui. Maybe they'll reveal a game at the end. Well, this isn't live. This is old, so they didn't reveal anything. I'm sorry, Rui.
Also, this demo is freely available on Unity's GitHub and come with a benchmark mod.
This was from GDC a couple of weeks ago. Groundbreaking
Let's now move on to
optimization.
another exciting
Mr.
new
Jackpot
graphic
is here. Oh, wrong click.
If you're here today, you might
you
already
doing,
know
Jackpot?
that PlayStation VR 2 will be able to use a technique known as foveating rendering. We're going to take a closer look
Not reading
at
that
this
out loud.
technology
I definitely will
and
get
how it can help you make
cancelled for
VR
that.
games with increased visual
But I
fidelity.
agree with you. Irish people are kind of bitter towards the
Foveating
French.
rendering is a set of techniques used to improve GPU performance
Because
by
of
reducing the image quality in the
a
peripheral
soccer
vision.
match.
This is only possible because we can take advantage of the imperfection of the human vision system, as well as detailed knowledge about the optics of the headset.
Yeah, I got a PS5 like a couple of weeks after it
The
came out.
sole reason to use foveating rendering is to decrease GPU usage. In return, you can use the extra power as you see fit.
Thank you for
You
asking,
can
Zach.
pack in more contents or effect, increase the resolution to benefit from super sampling. You could pick a higher refresh rate, or give some room to the GPU in order to anticipate for high demand scene.
So it seems like there's a lot of potential benefits that a developer could pick and choose. So they might choose higher frame rates to take advantage with foveated rendering, or they could focus on increased resolution with super sampling or some shit. So, and of course this only applies to it applies to all games, but what he's talking about is talking about Unity. So when he's talking about improvements of X%, Y%, that's in their engine. That's not to say there's other engines that won't be even more optimized or better optimized. So that is something to keep in mind. If I can be somewhat serious for just a second. Thick accent, says Mr. Jackpot. But the women love the French accent, you know? Next guy's accent I love. Oh god, it's another accent. Let's keep going.
You could also offer an option to your player so that they can choose not to fully use the maximum power available and help reduce energy consumption.
Energy consumption? Why would I be worried about that?
PlayStation VR 2 hardware can go a step further by using eye tracking in order to optimize GPU rendering even more. By projecting the eye gaze information into screen space, we're able to render at high quality at the precise screen area where the player is looking.
Good shit. Have a drink there, Fabian. Can't remember if his name is Fabian or not. Probably isn't.
Now that we understand how foveating rendering can help, let's have a look at some initial performance results. Please keep in mind that the following numbers are taken from prototype hardware, and the final implementation might change.
Here comes numbers. Tradition, where are you?
I reviewed two different test scenes in more detail, but first let's see just how much gain we can expect from this technology.
Okay.
Foveating rendering on PlayStation VR 2 can be up to 2.5 times faster, with no perceptual loss compared to equivalent quality with standard stereo rendering. As a seasoned graphics programmer, I have to admit this kind of performance boost is pretty unique. But wait, remember how I just told you how the eye tracking can optimize this technique even further?
Yeah.
It turns out we've measured gains up to 3.6 times faster when foveating rendering is combined with eye tracking. These numbers are really impressive, and they're close to the ideal gain we can achieve. We might not see such dramatic results in all scenes, but we know it's reachable in some cases. Let's back this number with a more detailed view of two scenes. The first scene is the well-known template from the Universal Runner pipeline. It includes a directional light with cascaded shadow maps, as well as one spotlight with dynamic shadows. In this configuration, we're running with HDR runner target, tone mapping, and bloom post-processing. As you can imagine, this scene is pretty small and is a good showcase to demonstrate the potential of this technology. You can see some numbers on the slide there.
I can't.
Let's have a look at our second test scene.
For me.
In this benchmark, we're using the VR Alchemy Lab project with the Universal Runner pipeline.
Get it right the first time.
The scene includes hundreds of modular meshes, multiple dynamic lights and shadows, visual effects from the VFX graph, decals, blooms, etc. These results are very
Hold on a sec.
interesting because
Mr.
they are
Jackpot
more
just wrote an
representative
essay here.
of
What is
actual
this?
games.
Sure, the head
You can
says.
see
Hold on
how,
a sec.
in
You
this
know what?
example, Foveating render
Stop this. Let's get Mr. Jackpot to stand at the top of the class and read out his work. I'm sure the headset and capabilities will be awesome. And that's where he should have ended. But now I'm seeing an ellipsis, which is the ... I'm just hoping they focus on showing games a lot more than the hardware on their showcase. That's a little bit of concern trolling. Now, I've been trained in identifying questicles when I see them, and I know this is the kind of speech, this is the kind of language they use when they're infiltrating PSVR platforms, communities, etc., trying to sow seeds of doubt. This fella's getting paid by the hour by Mark Zuckerberg to make comments like that. Where on the outside, if you're looking at it, it kind of looks like, harmless, maybe even supportive of PSVR, but there's always like that little underlying maliciousness behind it that he's trying to put doubt in the back of your head. I'm just hoping they focus on showing games a lot more than this boring hardware stuff, yeah? You're fucking exposed, Jackpot. Alright, you absolute reptile fondler. No offense to peace. Classic People says, I hit it you with me begin. I feel like that's Italian. You bring some Italian into that. Zach Wilder says, disappointed that the headphone jack is back on the cable. Not a huge issue for me personally, but I could see, like, there has been moments where I've hit it accidentally, so yeah, that's unfortunate. Just like a chameleon, says Decepticon. Decepticon is a potential questicle too, but right now he hasn't stepped over any lines. He hasn't tried to gaslight us into thinking the Quest is good and the PSVR is bad. Tradition. Here we go. A man around here who knows what he's talking about. Unity's focus isn't even on performance, but ease to develop for. With C#, that's like some kind of programming language, but I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, instead of C++. Unreal Engine leaves it in the dust. Sony Studios' own engines will be even more optimized just for virtual reality too. I wonder who's going to have the best optimized engine in terms of Sony stuff. Decima? Are they going to be using Decima for Horizon Call of the Mountain? We shall have to wait and see. But thank you very much, Tradition, for the intelligent comment.
rendering can bring a game from running at 30 FPS to a more acceptable 70 FPS.
Wrap it up.
As you've seen, foveating rendering on PlayStation VR 2 can bring a massive reduction in GPU usage, while preserving the same perceptual quality.
Havoc.
And combined with the eye tracking technology, the performance gains are even better. We are working hard to deliver this feature into Unity. We are focused on integrating foveating rendering into the universal render pipeline as a first step. We also provide a set of APIs and documentation that you can use for your own custom render pipeline. I hope you're now as excited as I am about this feature. It's a true game changer for VR developers. Next up is Dave Ruddle, who will tell you everything about the next input capabilities of...
All right, the next guy is called Dave. So I think that bodes well for in terms of his accent. Classic People says the EU showcase tomorrow might talk on PSVR 2 support there as well. EU showcase? What is this? What am I hearing about? Okay, Unreal Engine. Not European Union or Europe. Thank you, people. For a second there, I thought I missed out on some like massive news that there was going to be some kind of PlayStation Europe event, which would make no sense, but whatever. That is interesting though. It would be pretty cool if they brought Unreal Engine 5 and virtual reality, or if they brought up virtual reality when talking about Unreal Engine 5 specifically. That nanite. What else do they have in that thing? Is it called Luminous Engine as well, or for the lighting system? Anyway, it's impressive. Play that Matrix demo again.
PSVR 2.
Good shit.
All right.
Sounds American.
Hey, everyone.
There we go.
My name is Dave, and I lead the team at Unity in charge of XR input. PSVR 2 has some exciting new prospects for Unity developers to leverage. So let's take a look at what we've done to help you make the best experiences yet. So Fabian just touched on some performance reasons why eye tracking is important for PSVR 2, but it's also interesting for a few other reasons. Before PSVR 2, the promise of eye tracking was either restricted to pro model headsets or expensive, nice-to-have add-on modules. But because this is standardized equipment in the headset, we're hoping to see this set a new precedent for eye tracking across the industry.
Exciting.
The fact that this feature comes standard on all the headsets means that we as creators can rely on this functionality to be there for all the players. So in the past, we may have had mixed feelings whether to invest time and energy into utilizing eye tracking in our games.
Fuzzy, you an Unreal Engine 5 fan?
But no longer. Eye tracking is also interesting because it opens up new ways to immerse and engage with the players. They will get to experience new forms
They'll get to experience new forms
of gameplay
that
increase the feeling of presence.
I forgot how Dave Station talked. It's been so long since I've seen him. I assume his hair is down to his arse at this stage. I hope he's well, though. I should probably message him.
Influence in the worlds that you're creating. These sorts of things can have a memorable and lasting impact on players, so I highly encourage you to explore what is possible.
Decepticon did an
Let's
excellent
check
Dave
out
Station.
how easy it is to access these features using Unity.
It's not that easy, is it, Dave? Let's see how easy it is to access these features using Unity. Come on, Dave.
All right. Well, the videos which would have played.
Oh, man.
Let me see here.
Sabotaged by Epic. Sabotaged by Epic Games.
Oh. The video examples were showing some things that our XR team did to explore eye tracking. It allowed us to do object selection just by moving your eyes. It also allowed you to magnify objects in the scene so that you can see them better. And it also showed a very interesting way. It was an eye-based accessibility improvement that let users more quickly and intuitively use in-world tools with the assistance of eye tracking. So leveraging eye tracking in your projects works much the same way that you would do with all of your other...
I just want to read that comment from People. He says it's different. Unity is easier to develop for. Unreal Engine is better, but harder to use. But Custom Studios engines are the best depending on if they keep them updated. So isn't Unreal Engine 5 going to be very, user friendly for people who already know how to use Unreal Engine 4? I believe when they were showing that off, they could show how you could import what you've already done in 4 into 5 and take advantage of features almost immediately just from the import. Obviously not as easy as that. And seeing as Unreal Engine 4 was kind of fairly prominent. I don't know, maybe not as prominent as Unreal Engine 3 was the previous generation, but I feel like a lot of people know about Unreal in terms of experience and whatnot. But maybe it's not as simple as I'm thinking in my mind in terms of how they translate to each other. Fozzie says, I like Unreal, but I don't know what is the best. I guess nobody knows until we find out, Only time will tell. In terms of virtual reality, anyway. They show these videos at the end during the Q&A. Thank you. Tradition. I gotta stop pausing. Look at this. We're only at 18 minutes out of 50 something. Let's keep going.
Input devices. You have access to the components for eye gaze, which is a combination of the position and rotation across both eyes that defines a place in the virtual world that you can use to tell where that user is currently looking. In addition to the basic pose information, you will also have access to pupil diameter and blinking states of each of the player's eyes. Combining these with the pose, you can probably start to form your own ideas around gameplay and interaction that can be used to more deeply engage with your players.
You're winking at them honeys.
And of course, we need to know if the eye tracking is available and valid, so we've exposed those properties as well, so that you can make informed decisions when handling eye tracking inputs. Let's look at a couple examples of how easy it is to use eye tracking in your own projects. So this first example is just a simple gaze-based reticle. As noted in the comment in the code,
Echoey.
there is a gaze tracker object that drives the movement of the reticle in this script.
What's going on with the audio? That's weird.
Using the same tracked pose driver that we use for any of the other XR controllers in Unity.
They fixed it.
This one just happens to be tied to the eye gaze position and the eye gaze rotation set up in our input system action map. And just a quick note, there's also a tracked pose provider specifically made to handle eye tracking if you're planning on using the more traditional Unity input system or methods. Another side note.
How long before they do a Superman game where you're shooting the lasers out of your eyes and like instantly whatever you're looking at gets fried?
Imagine leveraging eye tracking
Maybe like an
for
evil
analytics
Superman.
to generate a heat map or an object list, which is based not just on where the head is turned and looking like
Does
traditional
this
gaze tracking,
technology work
but
for
also on where the
cross-eyed
player's
people? We
eyes
talked
are
about
actually
this
looking.
in the past,
This
Fozzie.
is especially compelling when thinking about how players are
they prefer to
presented
be
with
called
specific
Lone
problems or
Parry
tasks in your game to figure
because
out.
they're looking at
Having
London
these basic
and
analytics
Parry
would give you
at the
more
same time.
insight into what the player looks at or possibly doesn't look at when they're getting
But I
stuck
assume
in solving
it could
problem
cause
or
issues.
task in your games.
I don't know.
And
Maybe
this
you
type
pick a
of
dominant
feedback
eye
can
in the
be
settings,
invaluable
and then
in
it would
deciding how to
follow
reduce
that eye instead of
frustration
both.
or improve the gameplay experience for your
Could be like
players.
an accessibility feature. A Homelander, yes, Jeremy.
This next one is just kind of a fun example
Exactly.
of how you could use
The
the blink
boys.
states for each eye independently to detect winking.
Tristan
This is
says,
not
I
entirely
wonder what
complete,
pupil
as you
diameter would be
probably wanna
used
add some
for.
timing mechanisms to
Adjusting
ensure they're
brightness
really trying to wink,
dynamically,
but
detecting
nevertheless
sudden
still allows
changes in
creative
mood,
gameplay ideas to come forth,
seeing if people
such as
are
triggering some kind of reaction from the
excited, I'm
NPC.
guessing that's supposed to be.
There are a lot more
Excited.
creative and compelling ways that we can leverage eye tracking.
Whoops. I know I said I wasn't going to pause it anymore, but it's hard to talk and have him talking at the same time. I could just turn him down, I suppose, but yeah, whatever. It could be. The last time I did a stream about this where we mentioned what was going on in this talk, I brought up how, if you look at somebody you're in love with, apparently your eye diameter, your pupils expand. So I imagine it can do it for other things and different kinds of emotions too. So the likes of Hideo Kojima or whoever made that Summer Lesson game, that pervert game, the Tsuki type of games, they'll know which of their characters are popular hits with the boys based on the percentages of how many fucking diameters expanded in the male player base or female player base. And they can then fine tune future perversions and sell more. Classic People says, so Capcom can look at where users are looking when you stare at the vampires. Peach. I'm confused about the vampire remark. Capcom. Vampires? What are they? Are they making a vampire game? I apologize. I forgot the Lon Parry conversation. Well, I apologize to Tradition because he went to the trouble of explaining that to us. And you just let that go out of your head. Christopher Hart, how are you doing? How's Alana? How are you keeping? How many kids have you got now, Chris? Come on, there has to be a few kids. How many buns in that oven? The Heartbreak Kid himself. Trisha says, I've seen the eyes expanding thing in cartoons before. It's true. It's real. It's based on real life eyeballs expanding things. Capcom own Resident Evil Ace. They do. Oh yeah, I forgot there's vampires in Resident Evil Ace. I was like, what vampire game is he talking about? But obviously, yeah. I'm sorry, people. You just exposed me as a fake gamer. Not happy about it.
But John will cover that topic in depth next. For now, let's move on to the controllers.
Here we go.
The new PSVR 2 Sense controllers have been made fully accessible in Unity for developers to leverage in their PSVR 2 games. This means access to all of the buttons and controls, including things like finger touch detection. For those who are new to the concept, the finger touch detection uses capacitive touch to detect.
You boys are new to the concept of finger touch, am I right? Except for Chris, obviously.
This can enable things like making more natural gestures with your hands during
Chris
gameplay.
will be baking in the
or even a more
oven
basic
next year
approach where they can
after
just
the
see your
wedding.
fingers on the buttons
Kids. I
instead
thought
of
you said
having to
Chris
flip
will be
the headset
baking. I don't know why I
version
read
or
that.
searching around to find
After
just
the
right
wedding,
button.
congrats on the engagement,
PSVR
Christopher
2
Hart.
uses inside-out tracking technology for the new system,
Yeah, he's
giving
hyped.
you the full
He's hyped.
6 degree of freedom tracking. This
Of course
allows
he
us
is.
to leverage the standard Unity components for the XR system, such as the track pose driver or the input system actions. In general, creators can now use most, if not all, of the standard Unity XR stack across the board, making it even easier to develop your games with the greatest platform reach.
What the hell is he talking about?
When it comes to taking advantage of the controllers themselves, we've exposed these input controls through both the traditional Unity input methods as well as the new input system package. This also gives creators the greatest flexibility when choosing which approach to use in their games, or when integrating this into their own architectures. In addition to eye tracking and controller input, PSVR 2's SDK allows full control over the PSVR 2 Sense technology haptics. This includes things like headset feedback, allowing developers to give players an adjustable, non-directional vibration in the headset, as Bria mentioned earlier.
Okay, hold on a sec. I'm actually interested in that specifically. He's saying an adjustable, non-directional.
There's an adjustable, non-directional vibration.
An adjustable but non-directional vibration. So I'm assuming that means it doesn't go left, it doesn't go right. It's like just an intensity. It's like low or high and anywhere in between. So probably not as impressive as the controllers. But still something. Unless I'm reading that wrong, maybe you can tell me if you think I'm misinterpreting that.
In the headset, as Bria mentioned earlier. In addition to the headset vibration, the new controllers give developers even more haptic capabilities, including audio-based haptic feedback to provide a deeper haptic experience for players, as well as a more traditional vibration support. And last but not least, the new controllers also include the same adaptive triggers available with the PS5 DualSense controllers, allowing creators to program triggers with different styles of feedback based on the context of the game.
So I just have to pause this very quick because Tradition does bring up an excellent point, and it's an opportunity to dunk on the Quest and the Questicles who may or may not be watching this video as I speak. He says, I do love that a game engine company is this hyped about PSVR 2. They've had support for VR for years for different platforms. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I don't remember them doing this kind of thing before. Absolutely, that's because this is something else. This is the next step, the next phase of human evolution, as we've discussed already. And they would only do something like this for a really impressive piece of hardware. You know? Muzz says, with Sony doubling down with virtual reality 2 and putting this much development into us, it seems likely Sony will be committing many more studios to making games for us. If Sony backs the big games, they win. Well, that's what I think the hybrid strategy there is key. If they're really serious, they're the ones who brought up hybrid. So if they're truly serious about us, then surely they're going to try and make all of their big games have some kind of virtual reality support. But right now, we're not really seeing it yet. Like I can't picture God of War Ragnarok getting virtual reality support. Obviously, Gran Turismo would. But, I mean, it's way too early. They haven't even properly started talking about this thing yet. We still need a big event, which apparently is, that's gaining steam, that there's going to be an event again. Well, it's hard to believe. Rumors and whatnot, but, surely it has to be soon. Germ says, have you heard vibrates with increasing intensity before shooting eye lasers? No, I've never heard of that before. Okay, I think I see what happened here. Have your head is maybe what you were meant to type. Vibrates with increasing intensity before shooting eye lasers. How do you trigger it? Is it like you pull the trigger on your hands? Or maybe if you squint your eyes. What if you squinted your eyes and then that activated laser beams? But then people who have naturally squinty eyes would just be shooting lasers all the time, so that wouldn't work. Christopher Hart says, Sony, all caps, he's putting the respect down, is making sure to push virtual reality forward by becoming the best VR headset at the forefront of this technology. Can I get an amen? Where's that Phil Spencer? Where is he hiding with his headset? Where are you at, Phil? PSVR 2 is getting Quest users worried. Quest YouTubers planning on getting PSVR 2s. Indeed, people. But what I will say is, remember all those ones who abandoned PSVR 1 so that they could jump on that Quest bandwagon and never forget their betrayal. That's what I would say. Whereas your old pal Pumpkin stayed faithful to the PSVR. Well, it became a sexless relationship towards the end. But I never cheated.
Let me show you a few examples of how to trigger the various haptic feedback capabilities available in PSVR 2.
Let's get some examples. Oh, not this
So
kind
this
of
first
example.
example is a simple script that triggers the headset feedback. The script can be referenced and triggered from almost any other component, or even without code through the event system, triggered by an event or action that happens in the game. And just like other haptic feedback in Unity, the intensity of the vibration can be controlled simply by the frequency parameter, which just tells the headset how intense the vibration should be.
Okay.
Let's look at a controller haptic example next. In this next example, we see how easy it is to hook up the controller haptics with PSVR 2. We simply set the gamepad speaker output to the secondary vibration, choose which controller to send it to
Zabby,
through
what's up?
the panning property, and then play the sound through the gamepad. And to add on to that previous example, here's how you could set the controller haptics up to mirror other audio in the scene. This is a very powerful way to immerse players in the world that you are creating by providing an audio experience the players can both hear and feel in their hands. It also makes it much easier for developers to synchronize these two sensory experiences into one.
Okay.
So to wrap things up, I just want to call out a few key takeaways. Foremost, we've really worked hard to give developers the most flexibility when it comes to integrating PSVR 2 input and haptics into their games and giving access to all the bells and whistles that PlayStation has put into their new gear. Because of the combination of tracking improvements in standard Unity XR SDK for PSVR 2, it also allows creators to leverage the full Unity XR stack, including things like the XR Interaction Toolkit and many of the other XR SDK-based assets and packages.
A lot of this is
available
just
through the asset
gibberish
store.
that's designed for developers and not
And
really
last but
for
not
us
least, these
to
features
understand.
really allow for exploration into new forms of gameplay and innovative new approaches in the way that we interact with the worlds that we're creating. And on that note, I would like to hand it off to Jono to talk a little bit more about those sorts of compelling design ideas.
Before we let Jono speak, let's let Muzz speak, shall we? I think the release of VR2 is being delayed because of the lack of PS5s out there. It's bad strategy to release a VR with the console you need first and not on the store shelves. I don't necessarily agree because there's already minimum 17 million PS5s that have been sold. I know people are going to bring up scalpers or whatever, but I don't think scalpers are sitting on that many PS5 units. You know, those are actually getting sold as well, or else they wouldn't be buying them up. So I think, you know, they couldn't possibly produce, let's say they were releasing it this year, which they might not be, and the rumors are that it's not going to be released this year, but we'll see. There's no way they could produce 17 million. If they did one between 1 and 4 million, even that seems large considering how many PSVR 1 units sold. Only sold 6 million in 5 years. So they could probably get away with just producing 1 million units for the first year maybe, and could probably sell through all that, and meanwhile that would cover all the enthusiasts like us. We'd probably be able to snap it up, provided we have a PS5. And speaking of that, Muzz, you reminded me of that fella Brad. Sadly, it's Bradley. That fella, he's a YouTuber. He's a VR analyst and a VR level designer, I think, as well. I was reading his Twitter bio to see exactly what he is, but this is the fella who's always got like insiders, and he's able to read the tea leaves very well. And he seems to think that quarter 2 release of 2022 is still possible for PSVR 2, based on the fact that the production, like they're ready to start production, and in the past, and that's what he's basing it on, in the past, to get from that stage to into the consumer's hands, that's like a 2-month period. But obviously that's not a guarantee or anything like that, but it seems like another year away might be like an awful long time when you consider that they're ready for production that way. But that's just his opinion, one YouTuber. So, but he's more than a YouTuber. He's I keep saying YouTuber, but he's a VR analyst. Rogue is here. Did I miss anything? You missed. I'm trying to remember your stance, Rogue. What is your stance? I think you're a Questicle, aren't you? You're another one of them jackpots sneaking in here, trying to sully the good name of PSVR. I hope you've been keeping well, Mr. Rogue. Classic People says quarter 1 2023 is the main credible rumor. And while I'm not disputing that, as in like I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm just going to say that until Sony themselves say it, I'm going to hold out like a little bit of hope. that we might see it this year. Maybe. Classic People says 2 million was the PSVR 2 rumor. Okay. So even if they pumped out 2 million, I don't know, would it be cocky to say they'd sell that? Like, you talking about 2 million for at launch or for the year, or what's that number in like relation to? Mus says, "Oh damn, I hope he's correct on that." That seems like, I mean, it seems too good to be true for me, but the fact that he thinks that it's possible, I don't know. I mean, I don't, like, Without Parole have that insider, and they said, 2023, and they obviously leaked all the information accurately before, so there's no real reason to doubt them either. So, kind of everything's kind of up in the air. Fuzzy Bear says, "I think they will sell better than you think." Okay. But my main point is they could release it in 2022 because there is 17 million PS5s out there already, So, was it you who said that they shouldn't do it because of PS5? Or was that Muzz? I can't remember. Anyway, whichever one of you said they're delaying it based on PS5s, like not being enough PS5s out there. I think there is enough PS5s out there now. Not as many as there should be based on the demand, but there's enough to start selling PSVR 2, I think. Germ says they've been shown a lot for 2023 release. Kind of. I see what you're saying, but when you look at how they did Project Morpheus, I mean, we knew like it was called Project Morpheus for like, well, I'm probably going to exaggerate if I say years before we knew what it was actually going to be called, but I can't remember. I feel like they showed that off and demoed us and all this kind of stuff like a long time before it was released. But that was like a different situation where it was like a brand new entry into virtual reality, whereas this is the second generation, so it could be a different... I don't know. Everything's all up in the air. It's like you can make a prediction, but it's all guesswork, really. Classic People, they said the People was making 2 million at launch. So I can't remember, was it a Chinese production company? I can't remember their name. Gore-Tech or something like that. Gorski, or I can't remember. 2 million at launch. So there you go. 17 million PS5s. 2 million at launch. I don't know if they'd sell them all, like how quickly they would sell 2 million, but I think it's enough for all of us to snatch it up, the enthusiasts. I mean, it depends on the price and everything. They have enough hype from users that want to buy it who own PS5s. Yeah, I think they can sell 2 million at least. But then when it gets trickier is like, the year after that, and, and at some point it's going to plateau, and then we'll have what we have with PSVR 2. But the question is, how high will it be before it plateaus? Daft Dev is here. How you doing? I'm excited regardless, just like when I see you are live, bro. Look at that. A touching comment from Daft Dev. Bring a tear to a stone, so it would, Daft. Thank you very much for the lovely comment. A poignant comment. Let's keep going. And let's welcome Jono to the stage. G'day, mate.
Nice.
The Australian.
Thanks, Dave. So now that we have a lot of the tech capabilities understood, we want to round this session out with some ideas about where you can go next with this, particularly some Unity design considerations and ideas that are unlocked or otherwise improved on PSVR 2. So first up, of course, is controller haptics. So like a PS5 controller, the PSVR 2 controller has new haptic capabilities, including trigger resistance.
Oh yeah.
So let's look at some new interaction possibilities this opens up. First up is directly representing a trigger-like interaction, like a tool, or of course, a gun trigger. We've already seen great implementations in PS5 games, including continuous resistance to simulate ongoing tension, like prying open a door. We've seen this in Horizon Forbidden West, for example, or discrete points of resistance.
I did like that in Horizon, actually. That was a good example.
For example. And we see different trigger-resistant profiles on different weapons or interactions in-game, giving the player better separation between different items and a more realistic experience.
You like this accent?
But let's go further.
Isn't this just American?
This for VR, of course.
No offense, Americans.
So I'm going to call this indirect haptic feedback. So consider, for example, a bow and arrow interaction. Awesome VR interaction, of course. Mm-hmm. As the player draws the bowstring hand back, we can increase the tension on the string because we want to provide that resistance, right? We want to show resistance on the string. So of course we can't actually push their hand back naturally, but we can use the trigger to simulate some of that. So to signal to the player how taut that bowstring is, as you pull back further, you feel that trigger pushing your index finger back.
Sounds good.
So it's kind of passive sensory feedback. And while we're very excited to see what VR game developers are, sorry, little slide thing. There you go. Well, we're very excited to see what VR game developers are coming up with for this platform. Of course, as Unity, we are also deeply interested in what these new capabilities bring to VR tooling. So, for example, be able to provide multiple
stops I agree with that,
along an analog range as well. To provide a tactile snap when you're adjusting between tool settings.
Just seeing as you brought that up, Jackbot, there is news that we've probably already heard the rumors that Sony have made another, or are in the middle of making another big purchase in terms of a studio. It could be a publisher, it could be a studio, I don't know. This is what Greg Miller and Jeff Grubb were teasing. But then IGN put out an article as well that I was reading earlier on today, but it probably came out a couple of days ago, I can't remember. But that said, like, we've done 5 acquisitions last year, we've got Bungie this year, and we're not done yet. So, First Contact Entertainment, anyone? You know? It just seems like an obvious choice, especially when Zuck is out there on the hunt as well. But anyway, I've said this 100 times, that Sony should be buying First Contact Entertainment. I mean, how are they buying Haven? Haven Studios, they bought them last, actually. That was the second one this year. Yeah, second this year, wasn't it? And they haven't even released a game. First Contact Entertainment put out Firewall Zero Hour. Possibly, well, definitely the most successful multiplayer game, you would say. Paid multiplayer. Maybe something like Rec Room, because it's free to play, had more players or whatever, but I think there was like a revenue thing where Firewall made, like, it was in the top 10 of all virtual reality games, like, in terms of making revenue. So all them seasons they were bringing out was bringing in the cash. So Sony would be very silly not to be looking at First Contact Entertainment and busting out a checkbook, Sony should buy Petrifying Pumpkins and use their Spud IPs. And I'm cheap, is all I'll say. Jim Ryan, I hear you're living in London. So, well, not too far away, Jim. Come on over, or bring me over on the private jet, and we'll talk. Top 3 FPS viewer chooser. I mean, I'm not even going to, again, the implication there is that Firewall is third, and that there's probably 2 other ones on Quest that are better. I'm not listening to this, Jackbot. I'm not listening to this nonsense from you anymore. It's top 1, and it's not even close. The level of polish is... Listen, that's not what we're here to talk about, but we'll talk about it again if you want.
And finally, just one word of caution, that heavy trigger resistance should be used mindfully, so as not to fatigue your players or users. So you could consider a rock climbing game, right, in VR, where the player has to continuously push against that heavy trigger resistance to emulate the weight of your fingertips in real climbing. But this would likely be exhausting and frustrating if that's the constant main mechanic of your experience. So while we're excited about what you can do with haptics, always consider long play sessions and a range of player bodies when designing experiences. Headset feedback. PSVR 2 is the first headset we've seen to incorporate haptic feedback in the HMD itself. And this also opens up some interesting new design choices. So as you saw in
Endzone
code sample
604
earlier,
with the approval
is a single impulse intensity, meaning that we have
one
additional dimension of user feedback to use. One of the first use cases we...
Okay, so that confirmed us. It was a single, I guess we kind of knew it already. Single impulse intensity. So it's not proper haptics like the DualSense. It's just got one.
Meaning that we have one additional dimension of user feedback to use.
One thing.
One of the first use cases we considered for headset feedback was as a safety and comfort feature. So giving the user intensifying feedback as they approach the border of their play space. So a light tap as you approach, powering up to maybe a stronger tap as you get near the boundary before finally pulling up that conventional visual indicator. Now, applying that idea back to VR,
he seems so excited.
We can use this feedback to indicate when a user's head has collided with a virtual surface.
And he should be.
So we often see in VR apps today that as a player puts their head through a wall or table or something, that the app just blacks the screen out. Adding a haptic tap to this interaction.
He can't speak. He's so excited.
We can start to
He's getting moist.
surface,
As
right?
Endzone says,
really well
this is
colliding
moist.
with virtual objects on your hands.
Indeed
now we
it
can
is.
apply the same to the head. Pull more of your body into that. Finally, we expect to see some cool creative uses of headset feedback, especially combined with controller haptics. So for example, we could consider a explosion in the virtual world happening to the right of the player, and you have both controllers and the headset to provide haptic feedback falling off with distance from that point. So we could
Now he's confused me, because now he's talking about an explosion coming from the right and it coming, like, moving across the headset. Not just the controllers. He's including the headset there when he says that. So can it be tuned, if you know what I mean, to go from, like, the left side to the right side and, like, increase intensity and then fade off? Well, we know the intensity part can be increased and decreased, but, you know, more like the directional haptics is what I mean. He kind of implies it there, but maybe when he's including the controllers, that's what he's covering.
say, you know, the right hand nearest this virtual explosion can give strongest haptic feedback. Head in the middle could give a medium haptic feedback. Hand farthest away gives a small haptic response, right? So we're excited to see what other spatialized haptics like that developers can come up with.
Haptic underwear.
Something else we're excited about.
Patented.
More asymmetric multiplayer
Got
games.
VR legs.
Like Fabian mentioned as well. Where one player is using PSVR and other
Must
players
have played the
playing
anime
the
VR
aspect
touchy
of the same
game.
So
Disgusting.
PSVR really shines in this type of gameplay because it is a pretty safe
games
bet,
should be
right?
banned.
The PlayStation is connected to a TV and probably also a couch.
3
So you
haptics
can
in the
design this
headset
kind of experience
and the
with
sense
confidence
control.
that
See,
many of your
that's not.
players
It's not
have set
3D
up to
haptics
play
in the
it.
headset.
Again, like
There
that
is a
haptic.
motor,
It's standard
some
haptic
kind of a
actually rely on
haptic,
the
not
sense
some kind of
design.
feedback, but it's not
So a
haptics.
great example of
Not
such
like
a
the
PSVR
DualSense.
game,
I don't think.
would be the Playroom VR, namely as cat and mouse minigame.
Deej
Player
in the house. How
VR
you doing,
plays as a
Deej?
cat and up to 4 friends outside.
Welcome
play as
back.
mice
Oi, oi,
on the
oi.
TV.
Hope you're
check
well.
it out if you haven't yet. It's a really great little experience. This kind of asymmetry of perspective and information, being able to hide information from players in one medium or the other medium
Dev.
while still playing in the
If it
same room,
vibrates
is
every
a
time
game
someone
design
gets a
space that
headset
hasn't
on
been
me,
that accessible
my
before
teeth
VR,
are going to start
and other VR
rattling and
platforms
fire a
have a hard
wall.
time
Oh,
navigating
headshot,
it
sorry.
for those reasons earlier. And of course, we've
Yeah,
all seen
that's what you meant, headshots.
many board games and tabletop games, right?
Just gotta duck,
Where these
you know,
mechanics
it'll
have
teach
been
you to
used great
duck more.
effect for decades. So we
be
see
a
this
learning
huge design
tool.
space for leaning into this idea with VR.
Yeah, it's like I probably shouldn't be talking over him, so let me just get these comments. So, people thinks it's a DualShock 4 motor in the headset, so more rudimentary than your DualSense 5. But even DualShock 4, you could have like left and right in the DualShock. So I'm wondering, will the headset have that level? Yeah, you can feel a headshot when you get shot. That'll be pretty interesting. I can already see people like, oh, it's giving me a headache, even though there's probably going to be options to turn it off. But you know what people are like. I'm doing headshots on fools all day when I get it. Says Christopher Hart. He's going to be shaking heads. He's going to be rattling teeth. Is the Heartbreak
Quickly,
Kid.
just achieving the effect in Unity is a pretty easy setup. You create 2 cameras. One is for VR, one is for flat screen. The VR camera should be targeting display 1 in both eyes. Flat screen camera should be targeting display 2 and the none eye. For the UI canvases, the VR UI should be in world space mode, flat screen UI in screen space overlay mode, and then you configure your layers and camera culling masks to prevent anything from being rendered in the wrong camera. So a couple little screenshots there kind of showing a bit of that setup, but pretty quick. So I've saved what is to me the most exciting new design space for last, which is eye tracking,
get
of
hype.
course. There is so much that we can do now with eye tracking.
Oh yeah, he's getting moist.
So
Oh, he's
first
getting
is
moist.
multimodal input. It's a bummer that Dave's videos didn't play because I was going to be like, back in that video you saw, back in that video we should have seen, being able to hover over an object with your eyes to hover it and then use the controller trigger to select it. So we would be thrilled to see a lot of interactions that have been done with just controller-based raycasts instead, or additionally support eye-based raycasts in interaction. That cut down a lot of gorilla arm. One technical design consideration on that point is that you often want to scale your UI elements such that, for example, a reticle showing up where your eyes are looking will appear to the user as a constant visual size regardless of distance. So we use a concept called distance independent millimeters, or DMMs, which you may have heard of. 1 DMM means that content will appear as 1 millimeter at 1 meter away, and that the object scales proportionally to the distance from the viewer to appear at a constant perceived size, right? So you look at something very far away, the reticle will appear large against the back wall, but it appears the same to your eye. So more generally, we can use eye tracking to mediate interaction. So in other words, to better understand and interpret user intent, combining what their hands are doing, where they're looking, and other factors to arrive at the best interaction.
That would be nice.
So for example, consider trying to pick up one object out of a pile of interactive objects. This can often be difficult to get right in VR, right? And being able to prioritize the object that the user is looking at and touching can lead to a much more expected interaction.
Muzz, hacker's going to find a way to give you a concussion from a headshot.
Think of eye tracking as an assistive feature. So consider throwing a virtual object.
I think we both know what the hackers are going to do. Is they're going to go perverted with it straight away. You're going to hang the headset on your knob, and then it's just going to start buzzing away. You hang actually the orbs. You can hang all of it on your knob, really, depending on what you've got, what your inches situation is. But you could hook all three of them on like a hoop, like a ring toss type thing, and then you could hack it so that they're all buzzing. Haptics going. You could put some. Could rest your balls in there as well, and you could get some haptics going. You know, cradling action. You need that beach D. You need that BDE. Anyway, the beach hog. Yeah.
This interaction is.
If you got a beach hog, you could make that happen.
So again, with the
but if you don't, if you just got 3 inches, which is perfectly normal, gets the job done. Nothing wrong with this. I swear there's nothing wrong with this. Then you could just use one controller or one, just the headset or
and again,
something.
As a bunch of toolsmiths at Unity, other than great new VR games that we're very excited about, our excitement also goes to making better, more precise, more efficient
I'm just
VR
excited about this technology.
On top of everything already covered, we look forward to incorporating this functionality into our spatial tools, allowing users to select, snap, position content more effectively. Generally speaking, eye tracking gives us better precision and efficiency, and improves the getting things done factor for VR.
We'll be getting things done already.
There's more direct reactions to user focus, of course, as was mentioned earlier.
And pygmies.
Being able
and
to
pygmy shrews.
React to the user taking interest in something. So for example, initiating a NPC interaction conversation by making eye contact for a second.
That's a cool idea. I like that idea.
As Dave described, with eye tracking, developers can build much higher fidelity heat map.
Sorry again for pausing, but I'm just remembering Metal Gear Solid 3. There's a part near the end where you have to guide this woman NPC and she's been injured. And if you look at her in first person, you can stare at her boobs. Her boobs are always exposed in this game. She's wearing a bikini or whatever, but you can stare at them. And she'd be like, "What are you looking at, pervert?" Or something like that, So just imagine all those situations that could arise with this technology. Klasky people, but would they need to be hacked if you know what those Chinese devs are like with their sick games? We're going to get so good at it, we'll be hanging them on, and we'll be playing Firewall at the same time, with the thumbsticks, and we'll be like, "Oh, shoot me." Decepticon will be like, my turn. Shoot me. Muzz, your turn. That's what we'll do.
Where users are looking and focusing and where they're not, so devs can deepen their understanding of what players are interested in or what they're not discovering. Specifically on
important, Chris.
Direct interactions to focus, magnification. This may be more application and aesthetic specific, but a few ideas worth exploring depending on your application. First would be visual magnification. So as the user focuses on an object with their eyes, you could move the object closer, scale it, desaturate the background, etc.
I like this.
Also, auditory magnification, interesting possibility, where we can amplify sound sources where the player is looking and duck out other sounds for that detective hearing kind of effect. This effect is actually very practical for social VR, where you can find yourself in a noisy room with many overlapping conversations, being able to focus on somebody to tune out other conversations and communicate more easily. I want that in real life, right? And then also on that social VR point, naturally, we can use eye tracking to animate the avatar's eyes, of course, so other players in the space have a more realistic experience of knowing where people are looking, furthering VR's potential as a communication tool. So,
I'm not sure I like that feature.
PSVR.
Let's say I want to scope out some fine NPCs. But I don't want the NPCs to know I'm scoping them out. And by NPCs, I mean PCs, player characters. All of a sudden, they're going to be like, hey, this guy's a pervert, you know? Where really what's happening is I'm admiring the body armor that they're wearing and whatnot. So I don't know if I like that one. Maybe if it's optional.
VR2 adds or improves functionality that deepens this design space, particularly around controller haptics, headset feedback, asymmetric VR and flat screen experiences,
PCs.
and eye tracking. These have been a few tips and ideas of what we're excited about, but we can't wait
All
to
that
see what you
social
all
shit
make with this. We're excited to see some great new VR apps.
Will be perfect for that kind of
Thanks. Ria?
thing. Good job, Jono. Put sunglasses on underneath. Now you're
Thank
thinking.
you, Jono. And let's now cover
Now
the
you're
Unity
thinking.
XR and Platform Reach stack.
Oh my god.
Unity's XR
She said
Unified
sack.
plugin framework is what enables direct integrations across multiple platforms. The tech stack consists of an API that
Stack.
exposes common functionality across Unity-supported XR platforms. A new plugin provider has been added for PSVR 2, exposing the XR SDK, input, and display as a standardized abstraction across our supported platforms, be it PSVR 2 or otherwise.
This is kind of gibberish to me. Hold on a second.
The
Here we
adoption
go.
of this stack grants our community access to multi-platform infrastructure, a standardized architectural foundation that encourages operational efficiency and cost reductions across your productions. Faster partner updates supported by plugins residing outside of the core editor. As such, these plugins are updated independent of the standard Unity release cycle. And Unity Creator tools. These tools, like XR Interaction Framework or XR Interaction Toolkit, as Dave mentioned, enable you to add interactivity to your experience without having to code from scratch. PSVR 2's workflows will also have full integration into Unity's standard workflow. Not only does the community have access to the power of Unity's XR tooling, they can also make use of Unity's Frame Debugger and Memory Profiler,
Yeah,
just to
this
name
is
a
just
few.
kind of the boring stuff.
Supporting and innovating with PlayStation and the Sony Interactive Entertainment team has been a monumental feat that
credits.
wouldn't have been possible without the people supporting and enabling this latest platform. This is a collaboration across engineering, marketing, product, and business development functions, spanning the globe from the US, Canada, UK, and Japan. I do want to take the time and the moment to thank all of you who could and could not make it to this year's GDC. And with that, I'd also like to thank all of you for coming and participating in this session. To learn more about Unity's involvement with PSVR 2, along with news and updates, check out and subscribe to create.unity.com/PSVR2.
Wonder how many people went to
Thank
that.
you.
You should try and make those mouth noises.
So,
Uh-oh.
so we do have additional
All right,
time to
we've got
take
some
any
problems.
questions that you may.
Hold up, I might need to pause. Let me give it a sec. Maybe he'll put himself back to sleep. Give me a sec here. No, he's not going to put himself back to sleep. Okay, I'll try and be back as quick as I can.
What the fuck is this? is this?
Okay. Sorry about that. It might go sideways again, and I might just have to end the stream. But where was I? If anyone is still here. People had said they have the eye tracking demo at the end that didn't work either. Okay, so we've got what? Just under 20 minutes left, and there's a Q&A section or some shit.
They have.
Let's keep
if
going.
you look towards the front, we have 2 microphones placed front and center. So, if you will.
Just go ahead.
We'll talk.
Whispering.
Okay, looks like you are our first person.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. I guess this question to all presenters, but this question is more for Fabian. You were discussing performance improvements. I was a little bit curious if you're able to disclose how the perceptual artifacts were evaluated, like comparing having the foveated rendering to not having, because numbers are great, but then if people are noticing like little glitches on the screen, that's not good. So how was that evaluated?
It's been evaluating mostly, based on the perception. Different people have been trying it. I can't really tell much about the detail there because it's under. I can't really comment on the specifics. If you're part of the Sony developer, you might have a bit more information.
Additionally,
Weird question.
We do have our subscription where you can learn about more details and insights as we progress in development and we get closer to the time in which we can further disclose information.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Better questions next time.
Johan from Toby. We provide eye tracking technology to various OEMs.
Hello.
None mentioned.
Hey, isn't Toby the company that Sony have supposedly partnered up with to do with eye tracking technology in PSVR 2? Trent Stanley, how you doing, Trent? Lee. Devs have to tie a big pretty bow around PSVR 2 by figuring out how to harness its powers consistently and uniquely. Next level VR games must be the norm. I agree. I'd like some next level VR games. Classic People says, yep, Toby, and you rang a bell. Let's see what he's going to say, which is, shouldn't he have all the information? What's he asking questions for?
Come and ping me afterwards with the previous questions. We can show you some examples. To answer the question, you are not allowed to. You want to compare the graphics you can do without it and bake all your
he's
shapes,
answering
or
the question.
Put on tons of graphical elements.
That explains.
So we can look at that. I was so excited to talk Foveated and that I forgot my question.
So he didn't have a question. He just answered the first question.
Suspicious. So the first is again about foveated rendering. Is the tech you built compatible with other headsets that have foveated rendering, such as Valio, or is it locked to PSVR 2?
So, the PSVR 2 has some specific design that will work only on the PSVR 2, but we are working on a more generic cross-platform API for any platform that will support foveating rendering. So it's going to come at a later date. I don't have a specific date for now, but we're working on it.
Okay, bro, thanks. My second question was regarding the design considerations you talked about. For me, eye tracking is perfect as like an assistant feature, as you said. I was wondering, are you going to ship any examples or mono behaviors that kind of help developers easily get going with kind of multimodal interactions? That's not a word, but sure, let's go with that.
You're asking about.
Okay, before he answers that, important is saying, how do you not know? Pump up the. I thought this was going to be a relevant comment, but it's not. But your pitch perfect on bodies working overtime. Also, you're telling me it's a song. What has Christian Slater got to do with a song? I didn't know he was a musician.
Examples specifically? Will we ship example code?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have exact timing about that right now, but yeah, the video that we're hoping to see on some of Dave's slides are work that the XR design team has done to incorporate eye tracking. So I can't say specifically, but I would imagine that the plan there would be that we'd take that forth to be a example we can share with the community, because of course we want to be able to provide examples for
Christian
everything so far.
Slazer didn't make it to Ireland, right? He didn't.
And if you do have any specific examples that you think would be great for us to take into consideration, once we complete the session, we'll be at the booth and we can have a discussion. We love community feedback, so it would be great to understand what it is.
Exactly, people. It was very interesting. He came along and he's like, oh, I can answer that question. Oh, I forgot what I was going to ask. By the way, we're working with Sony on this technology that you're talking about, so I have a deep knowledge on everything that's going on here. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but that was a bit strange. And I suppose it was a song too. See, I still don't know what really you're talking about, Anyway.
You would like to see, and how we can, further address it as we formally go to market.
Okay, cheers, thanks.
Okay, thank you for the great talk. To me, the combination of eye tracking and foveated rendering is probably the most exciting feature to me. And you mentioned that you have it built into the render pipeline. And my question would be, can I take advantage of it for my non-VR project or project that's in HDRP? For example, maybe I designed a boss that has some intense visual effect, and it's going to eat up a lot of resources. And I know player will be looking at the boss, not the surroundings. So maybe I can blur out the surroundings a little bit more to free up some resources for the boss. So I wonder if that's possible. Is that planned?
So we're also working on a more generic.
Isn't that possible in general?
Resolution support. Again, we don't have a specific date, but I think in this case that would be mostly the solution where you want maybe to drop off some resolution, maybe some effects, maybe you just lower the overall quality. But yes, you can use your own eye tracking data to do that. So this you can do yourself right now.
That's very good. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you for the presentation. That was well done. Forgive my ignorance, but does making games in VR make sense for third-person games? Like, as an example, Resident Evil was an excellent.
People says for Flash. Well, he's talking about if you have a boss, players are going to be looking at the boss, so you don't need to be having such a sharp. You can lower the quality of the background. Surely you could do that for flat, no? Like you could just. If it's like a boss level that's separate or whatever, you could lower the resolution on other things. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Ignorance not forgiven. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm proud of my ignorance.
And the implementation of a immersive VR experience done in first person. So I'm curious, do game and content creators need to create a first person mode of the game if the cutscenes are in third person? And also, could a title like God of War Ragnarok work in VR with a first-person view?
It's
a super
Alan
cool
from
question.
Toby there saying get hype in the chat.
There are a handful of games out there already that are third-person VR games that I'd really encourage you to check out. Moss comes to mind on PSVR, of course. So in that one, you're
do I still have to wear glasses? Can I adjust the headset to take account for my broken eyes?
Driving them around.
It's got the dial
cool
that
there's a lot of considerations there around
interpupillary
of course, because you're moving
dimension or some shit, IPD.
How your character is moving. So that just takes
I don't know if that helps you.
Playing with it,
Daft
getting it right. Spacing out the name of a particular game from earlier on that would.
Probably not going to be doing miracles.
In the corner of the room with your vision, your head is in the corner of the room, and you're watching your character move through the room, and then kind of swap to different perspectives from there. So it's more of a fixed, static angle camera thing. So that's another way to do it. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have worked on cool games that are not just first-person VR stuff. Because there's definitely a very interesting design space there. It's something personally, I was doing this when you asked the question, because I'm like, I love VR games that get outside of it's all just got to be first person all the time concept.
I prefer first person all the time.
The question there.
It was about
what variety is nice.
Title like God of War, but actually I wanted to just get a better question. Were there lessons learned from the original PSVR when iterating on the new PSVR 2. Did you guys have like learning opportunities to improve and basically make it better?
Probably have to ask Sony that one, unless either you guys have PSVR 1 learnings. Sorry.
Get fucking roasted, whoever that
God of War
is.
question.
Yeah, God of War Ragnarok. Could that work in VR if it's built in third person already and the cutscenes are like?
He wants them to confirm God of War for VR.
Sony's games, right? Just want to put that out there.
This guy thinks they're Sony.
Again, I would say like take a look at the non-first-person VR games that are out there now. Again, Moss. Hesitant to name a bunch of other games that aren't PSVR ones, but yeah, there's a lot of good third-person VR stuff going on. You called out Resident Evil. I think what they do there, where it's like you're in first person most of the time, and then you switch to that outside camera when you go into some extreme motion. Is another really good solution that like you don't have to be locked in first person all the time.
Is it really good?
And again,
that solution, I mean,
kind of complicated design space where it's like, all right, what is the right balance there, and how do you kind of keep the player immersed and keep them from being disoriented when you're flipping cameras like they do in that one. But yeah, we can talk about this all day. Let's find us in the hall. We can talk about it.
Great, thanks for your time.
Yeah, he wants new questions. Get this guy out of here. Haul him off.
Your slide showed pupil diameter for eye gaze. Is that available to the user or to the developer?
Yeah, it's exposed as part of the input system, so you can use it as there's pupil diameter for each of the independent eyes, as well as like whether the eyes are open or closed.
And is that available on a per frame rate or per frame basis, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Per frame, so they can be very accurate. This is someone who doesn't know anything, trying to interpret what they're talking about here, but it sounds like they can have a very accurate per frame, keeping in mind it's like 60 or 90 frames per second. I think, if I know what I'm talking about, they can be tracking that pupil diameter and you're blinking and all that kind of stuff very well in real time, basically. That guy was sweaty, says important. You could just tell by the way he was pronouncing his words. He was like, man, yeah, he knew he was going to say something. He kind of got embarrassed a little bit when the questions he asked. I feel like he did think they were Sony. And, well, you know what? You can't blame them because, why are they talking about PSVR 2 in a fucking conference and Sony isn't, So let's cut them a bit of slack.
I've had a workflow question and a performance question about URP and HDR.
Okay, hold on a sec now. Important over here, trying to do to me what that guy did to the sweaty fella. However, what I was talking about specifically was pupil diameter, like the expanding and then contracting of the pupil itself, not what the direction that it's looking at. So I just want to clarify that. Hopefully, makes me look less embarrassing.
Because currently, or at least my last knowledge about it, is that you either have to use one or the other in a project because Unity didn't support kind of like switching between them in the same project. Is that something that's being addressed so that we can
this headset's been made by the narcs.
Like lower end.
Why you gotta be such a narcoleptic, bro?
That should not be named versus
shouldn't be named as right.
High end like PS5. And related question. What's your experience with using HDRP with
all these druggies that listen to you are going to be busted. I've been developing this headset with Sony.
So we had to combine URP and HDRP in the same project.
What the
There
fuck
are
is
some
HDRP
efforts
and
currently
UMP?
being worked on so that you could have potentially a project that is compatible with the two pipelines. It's not a done deal. It's still work in progress. There's a lot to be done there, but there's efforts happening in this space. And for the quality of HDRP on the PS5 VR hardware, VR2, it really depends, what you can afford, because obviously you cannot enable everything because there's too many options there. But like if you specifically pick, handful like important feature for your game, this can be dramatically improve the visual fidelity. Like for example, the volumetric effects is very well done in HDRP, and I could add a lot of just the ambience of any kind of horror games or whatever. Like it's, I think you have to be you have to choose the right feature for HDRP on PSVR 2.
Okay, but basically on PS5 with PSVR 2, it would be realistic to target HDRP or use HDRP for rendering.
It's still early, but let's say if you make the right choice, it's possible. Yes.
High definition role play.
Hi, sorry if you can't answer this question or not, but my studio is interested in working on PSVR 2 projects in Unity specifically.
Who's the studio?
PSVR 2 is not yet available to the public. If we're a PlayStation partner, are we able to get access to some of the tools you're working on before the official release?
No.
While we are not at, we cannot necessarily add you to a list per se. You can subscribe to PSVR 2, our website up here, to get the latest news and updates.
All right, thank you.
Hi. So up until now, for like accessibility options for a lot of previous VR games, we've had like options like free looking for first-person games and like snap turning, right? So when it comes to like foveated rendering as well as like eye tracking, is that like affected in terms of the cost to the hardware when it comes to like choosing either option? And is that something that like the power of PS5 can help out with in terms of like, just the extra power behind that? Is like giving those options, one being easier over the other, etc. I know it's kind of a jumbled mess, but does that make sense?
You kind of lost me at the end of that question.
Between the two of you.
Sorry, I want to clarify the question a little bit. There was an aspect about accessibility there with eye tracking, and then also an aspect about using those features in general way.
Yeah, let me rephrase. So like we have the option. My question would be like, so there's snap turning and then there's
one on already.
Is there like a different rendering cost in terms of like how expensive that would be to render when it comes to foveated rendering and eye tracking?
Sweaty guy has the answer.
Is there a difference between the two?
I want to say no. Yeah, get a no from Fabian on graphics.
Yeah, it was just something I was curious about.
You can go with no. Yeah, no. I think no. I believe no. I also do just want to, speaking of accessibility, mention also. I think we as game designers should also be aware about eye tracking.
That's interesting.
It may be that not everybody can take advantage of eye tracking, and like I would recommend everybody to also think about what else can I do. In addition to eye tracking, right? We're talking about kind of bringing in multiple inputs earlier, right? About
if you're wearing glasses,
head, where your eyes. So yeah, just on the accessibility front, want to
could like glare come into
your
it,
main
like
question about performance difference? I believe not.
Mess up the tracking.
Cool.
Of your eyes. Why do I imagine this guy sweating buckets while speaking? All of these guys are.
Make this go.
I'm sweating watching them. Listening to them. Oh, here we go. Here come the videos. Great success.
Want to narrate what those ones are?
Yeah, so really quick, in the top left, let's see if we can go previous and back again. Here we go. You'll see in the top left, selection using eye tracking. In the top right, you'll see the magnification that we talked about. And then the bottom, you'll see where you can use
I'll take your word for it, Chris.
Assistance in like tool selection. So you can see
the
arrow, the curve is kind of snapping to where the person is looking rather than just where they're holding the controller. So kind of adds this, good element of assisted tooling. So.
Hey.
Question?
Yeah, I had a question about the foveated rendering support. Apologies if I missed this. That feature, is that something that is toggleable or configurable in any way, or is it just kind of a single setting for the entire plugin?
Yeah, I mean, it will absolutely be optional, right? You can decide to opt in or just not enable it. And in terms of...
that's an interesting point that Important has made there. So, because obviously some people will have certain issues with their eyes or whatever that might make eye tracking difficult for them or impossible for them. He's saying, that means studios will be scared to use foveated rendering if it's not guaranteed to work for everyone. But what I would say to that is, there's people out there who don't have arms or are paralyzed, and they didn't take that into account when they made the move controllers or the aim controllers, so I think we should be alright. I think, and this is not to, I feel bad for Well, look, if your eyes are fucked anyway, then the 3D effect in virtual reality is not going to be much good to you. But I guess if you got that lawn parry shit, then I don't really know. If your one eye is going here, and the other eye is going here, what does that look like? Say, I don't know how those people see. Is everything blurry for them, or is one eye dominant and they see that? I don't know. Classic People says it would mean option for the developers. Is that what you mean, or for the players? I guess if they give the option to the players, then they could have like a shittier performing game, but for those people to play, I don't know. That doesn't sound right either. They probably wouldn't do that. I'm just not understanding what you're saying, people, but I'm sure you've got a good point. You know, Important says, like you and your droopy face, may be a bad candidate. I forgot about the droopy face thing. Fozzie Bear says, those people racist, and I'm not sure where the race is coming into us. Muzz says there could be additional settings for people who can't use it, but surely if you can't use it, that means PS5 can't take advantage of, you know, the better optimized, you know, performance, which means their version of the game runs worse when you turn those things off. I don't know. Classic People pointing his finger up. I don't know what that means.
How, you know, there's not really, you know, it's basically on and off, let's say. You will have some control with the eye tracking, foveating rendering, where you know, you can have a bit more control in the trade-off between performance and, let's say, you know, the quality.
Thank you.
Most says, well, sucks for them, I guess.
All right.
Which is true,
If no further
kind of.
questions, thank you so much for being here, and
I mean,
we will be making.
Sounds callous to say it like that, but there's so many things in life that, you know, I mean, it's a disability for a reason, you know. You're gonna have things not available to you, which is not cool, obviously, but it is what it is. And what's the alternative? I don't know. Maybe they will have an alternative. I'm not trying to write it off either, because I don't understand it enough to say whether it can or can't be done. But just the fact that Sony are talking it up so much, that Unity are now talking it up so much, it seems like it's an important thing, and I don't think they'll be afraid to use us for the sake of leaving out, you know, a small percentage of a potential player base.
Making our way over to the Unity booth. So if you
All right, and the babies are crying again, so I'm just going to end the stream there, and I will see you in the next one. All right, thanks for stopping by, and I'll read the comments when I come back.